So off the back of us learning the ins and outs of the main riff from Just Got Paid by ZZ Top, and kind of reflecting on me teaching it privately and admitting it was one of those songs where I just learnt the main riff and I didn't know much more about it. I had to work out the middle section of the track, the kind of funky breakdown with the solo. And I find the rhythm there fascinating, interesting, more so than the lead noodles over the top. They're cool, but what's going on underneath, in my opinion, is cooler and worth talking about because I think you will learn something new from it. I'm talking about this section, right? All that funky stuff. It does move around more, we're going to talk about that, but I just wanted to kind of remind you of the bit we're talking about. If you listen to the bass at the start of that section, it's just cycling around two notes, A and E. It's a little bit more playful in its melody, but in essence, that's what it's doing. And that's a good thing to listen out for because for me, it kind of puts me in the right direction of what I'm looking for in the chords or the chord harmony. So I've got A and E in mind, right? And the first sound I hear is this. Quite a familiar sound for me. I recognized it as being part of an A major chord. So if you took a C shape, right, and slid it all the way up to the 12th fret, you've now got an A chord, right? And if we look at that flat bar and these two fingers, when we hammer them on, we're effectively hammering on from part of an E to part of an A. That's the way I saw it, and that's the way, by listening to the bass, I was like, okay, it's hammering on from E to A. I then hear that go the other way, pull off, so I hit another upstroke on the flat bar again after I'd pulled off, and then I could hear this weird noise. And it took me a minute to kind of get my head around it. So, like I said, the bass drops down to the E. At first I had this, just an E7, right? So, an E7 bar chord, but something was missing. And it was the 12th fret of the B string. And it's not a shape that I would normally put on that, but when you get your head around it, again, if you played a G dominant 7 in open position, but you had the pinky on the 3rd fret of the B string, putting a perfect 5th in as opposed to a 2nd major 3rd, right? Because if we had this B and this B, that's 2 major 3rds, but if we use the pinky to play 3rd fret, we've got 2 perfect 5ths. Now you can see right there, hopefully if I go like this, you've got fret 1, fret 3, and open G. That would be a G7 in open position. I use open position a lot because I feel like so much more down here makes sense to people than up the fretboard, right? So if you understand it here and we slide it up, we put the bar on, think of that like a capo now. You're just doing the exact same thing in E, right? There's the root note, like it would be down here if it was in G. But we're in E, so we're hammering on to an A, and then making our way to an E7. That hopefully should be like a light bulb moment for you, where you might just learn frets dot to dot and think, I'll never get my head around what's going on, it's overwhelming. I like to find ways to make people understand that. Doesn't matter how we describe it, you know, and if you want to drop a comment below, I can try and explain it a different way for you. Everybody's different, but the understanding and the improvement that I think you'll get in your playing from just kind of thinking about this stuff and understanding it as you go it's made me a better player over the years and a better teacher. At one point this was overwhelming and I wouldn't get it. Now I do. So figure stuff out, make mistakes, and enjoy it. Right, let's talk about the rhythm. So here we go. I like to put these chukka-chukkas in because they're a good little reminder of where you are in the bar. So we've got the hammer on, 2 little chugs in there of the beat, and then up, up, pull off, flat bar, and then onto that E7. You can do 2 little chukkas again if you want. And where it gets mad, we have this kind of variation. So we have the same hammer on, but then we've got an extra downstroke, the higher part of the chord. You can do it as a double stop or a single note. He does both. I like to go a single little chukka-chukka in there, and then down, down, up, down, and that sets my spacing. And then what we're going to do, flat bar, I want you to pick the G and the D. Then I want you to put your E7 on, hit the top 2 strings, the E and the B, take them off, and then go B and G, and then G and D. Okay, so hard to do. You've got to keep that hand moving but be accurate. So when we move down to open position, we now bar an A chord and we hammer on part of a D major, okay, in the same fashion. Surprise, surprise, the bass line at this moment is just going D and A. It is as easy as sliding this riff down to the 2nd fret, but again, understand that we are hammering on from A to D and then doing our little A dominant 7. So, what does this look like? Depending on which version you're playing over or along with, just work out how many repeats you need to do, or learn to go off other things that are in the track, like certain points of the guitar solo or a drum fill, markers in the song. They're a good indicator of modulation. After that, we have this. The first strike of the D chord is going to be on an upstroke, and then we've got some little percussive chukka-chukkas in the middle, and then we're going to land on a down on the E. If you start on one little downwards chukka-chukka, you love that word, it will put you at the right rhythmic rotation with your picking. So I just do things like that over and over again. I do this in private lessons all the time just to help people get stuff. Little bits like that can be such useful practice. So after that, you can do a little down up, and then a down pick, a down mute, and then an up pick. We've got another little chukka before we have this. It's kind of like a lingering hammer on. It's not like super fast. We go hammer on, sustain, and then back off to the flat bar. And now it doesn't ever go back to that D again. We're just going to go between the E and the hammer onto the A. So watch this again. Now, just before the B power chord, if you go up, down, that will really help you with the timing and setting the spacing. That funky rhythm is one of them things. If I go do down and then go up and then do this, I think you'll just be like, what? I have no idea where I'm at. I think you understand the mechanics of it and the principle and why I'm doing the chukka-chukkas to help you with the rhythm. Copy it with the track slow or me slow, understand it, and then just repeat it. Rhythm police, coming for you. They know you played it wrong. Let's do it again one more time. Now, I mentioned before about me being guilty of learning just the main riff from this track, but I had the most fun doing this section and working out the quirky chords, the funky rhythms, and then teaching that to people and watching them have a breakthrough as well, both in technique and understanding theory. That's what it's all about. Makes me very happy, and hopefully you've learned something new today as well. It's 2 chords, and then you move it down. 2 different chords, but same intervallic spacing, and then we'll back up, funky rhythm, B5, done. Back to the main riff. You can enjoy yourself again. You don't need to sweat it. Also, another example of why, you know, learning the solo isn't always going to make you like way better. That is, being that competent with rhythm and understanding chords, better player. Tab for the whole track and some notes, backing track. You can grab that on my Patreon and help support the channel as well. Help me and Gab get our bathroom insulated, demolded and tiled. Disgusting really, isn't it? But that's what you get for living in a Victorian house. I like to moan at this time of the year because of how cold it gets. You know what, it's actually warm in here. I've had the fire on, so I'll shut my tits. I'm off. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.